Hello, welcome to Wembley. Well, they call it the road to Wembley, but this is going to be more like the train to Wembley as we take in a series of train journeys around the country and visit some of the football stadiums and take in the stories from this season's FA Cup. And welcome to the DW Stadium, the home of Wigan Athletic, of course, the winners of the 2013 FA Cup. And you can see the statue of Dave Whelan, the chairman at the time, holding the cup behind me. Well, since then, of course, in 2013, they beat Manchester City in the final. And in the third round of 2024, they were at home to Manchester United, the other Manchester club, but it was a different story. And it was a fairly comfortable win for Manchester United. They won 2-0, an early goal from Diego Darlo, and a second into the second half with a penalty from Bruno Fernandes. So Manchester United through. In the fourth round, it was a trip to South Wales and Newport County. And that, in theory, sounded easy. Well, they were 2-0 up, but Newport pulled it back to 2-2, and they won 4-2 in the end. So it sounds comfortable, but it certainly wasn't. And in the fifth round, it was a more difficult task away at Nottingham Forest at the City Ground, and it was a tight affair, and Manchester United won 1-0. So here at the Etihad, Manchester City were at home to Championship strugglers Huddersfield Town in the third round, and they were certainly in no mood for any potential upset on the day. They ran out 5-0 winners, and Phil Foden scored twice. Well, there was no doubting what was tie of the third round, and that was here at the Emirates as Arsenal took on Liverpool. It was one of those games where Arsenal created all the chances pretty much, but it was Liverpool who scored late on. An own goal and then a second from Luis Diaz made it 2, and it was Liverpool who went through to round 4. So to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and we were looking forward to the tie of the round in the fourth round between Tottenham and Manchester City. And if you're as old as me, you'll remember the 1981 FA Cup final replay with that famous Ricky Villa winner. It certainly wasn't as spectacular as that, and Spurs huffed and puffed their way before eventually crumbling to a Nathan Ake late goal. So Spurs were out, and Manchester City made it through to round 5. Well, there are so many grounds that I would like to have featured in this FA Cup tour of the country, really. Not least Kenilworth Road, where Manchester City were up against in the fifth round. They ran out 6-2 winners, and it included 5 from Erling Haaland. Quite a night, all in all. Maybe not so for Luton supporters. In the quarter-finals, Manchester City faced Newcastle. Newcastle had beaten them in the Carabao Cup earlier in the season, but it wasn't a classic. Manchester City won 2-0, 2 deflected goals from Bernardo Silva.
We are now approaching Piccadilly Gardens, where you can change for services to Altrincham, Media City UK and Eccles, and local bus services.
Well, there was only one cup tie played at Old Trafford this season. What a cracker it turned out to be, Manchester United against Liverpool. Of course, they don't always turn out to be the best of games, but this one certainly was. McTominay gave Manchester United the lead, but Liverpool came racing back. Alexis McAllister made it 1-1, and Mo Salah put them ahead at 2-1. It stayed that way for quite some time. Anthony then forced an equaliser, and we went into half an hour of extra time. And sometimes extra time can be as dull as ditch water as well, but this one had absolutely everything. First, Liverpool took the lead through Harvey Elliott, then Marcus Rashford, though, 3-3, and then finally a winner from Ahmad Diallo. What a game it was. It finished Manchester United 4, Liverpool 3. Fantastic.
Platform 1 for the 14:10 Avanti West Coast service to London Euston, Horgate Nuneaton and London Euston. This train is formed of 11 coaches.
Well, the first semi-final was between Manchester City and Chelsea have been up and down all season, it's fair to say. Manchester City, well, they were just on the back of that Champions League defeat to Real Madrid. It was very close, but it went down to penalties. Well, on the day, Manchester City looked rather tired and leggy throughout the game, and it was Chelsea who created all the chances, but they just couldn't score. And as Manchester City always seem to do in the big games, they managed a winning goal. Bernardo Silva popped up with the winning strike, and Manchester City through to the final. Well, they're calling it the greatest ever FA Cup semi-final between Coventry City and Manchester United. I certainly wouldn't argue with that. What a fabulous game it was. I mean, I'm a bit biased, but my personal favourite was Stoke City beating Bolton in 2011 by 5-0. That took some beating for me. Perhaps people will think of Ryan Giggs' solo strike winning the 99 semi-final for Manchester United against Arsenal. And a few years back now, 5 years ago, Watford overcame a 2-goal deficit to Wolves to triumph 3-2. All those games were fantastic, but there was just something about this particular semi-final. Well, Manchester United started off commandingly. They were 3-0 up and all looked plain sailing. And there was no way back, surely, for Coventry. Well, boy, did they come back. They pulled those 3 goals back. They got a penalty to make it 3-3 and into extra time. And, well,
Victor Torp struck the winning goal, or so we thought. Mark Robbins said afterwards he was offside, perhaps just by a toenail, and maybe if he cut his toenail, he wouldn't have been offside. It was that close, but it was a fabulous game, and you really felt for Coventry because you somehow knew they were going to lose the penalty shootout. But Manchester United progressed, and some will say they didn't deserve to win, but they have shown some resilience in various matches throughout this season's competition. So the FA Cup final 2024 is once again Manchester City against Manchester United.
Platform 11.